You son of a bitch. Welcome to another segment of Lore You Should Know. I am Greg Tito, and I'm joined by
Adam Lee.
And this is where we delve into little bits of Dungeons & Dragons lore for funzos.
Yeah.
But you might also be able to use these specific topics in your playthrough of Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus when it comes out on September 17th. So today we're going to be talking about Candlekeep.
Candlekeep. Yes, the great library.
It is a wonderful library.
Realms,
we were saying that it would be the place that we would want to live in.
Oh my, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I did a lot of thinking about Candlekeep, and it's just so cool.
Yeah.
There's just so many cool things going on there, and there's so many great adventures you can play there, and it's very interesting and just endless amounts of fun.
We've talked about Candlekeep, I think, on a Lore You Should Know previously, but that was more general kind of history.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk more under the context of how it appears in this adventure. So, but that being said, can you give us a little bit of a general overview of what Candlekeep is and its history?
So Candlekeep, it was long ago. It was a keep, and then eventually became this library, and has kind of built up over the years, centuries, whatever. It's like there are these towers that are all connected by crazy bridges, and one tower is built by another, and one's built on top of another, and so the central keep is this area that you enter into. But then once you are granted access to Candlekeep, then you can move in and you can go through the massive halls and libraries, and then past those libraries, there are even greater these towers where resident wizards and scholars and sages and all manner of learned folk, yes, live and study and read and do experiments and all this stuff. So,
would you equate it to like a university now?
No, it's in some ways, it's not necessarily a university where, people, kind of apply and go in and study. It's more, maybe it is kind of like a university, but it's its own weird thing.
Like a Library of Alexandria type thing?
Yeah, it's more like a Library of Alexandria. Like the monks who sort of run the place, they are aware that they hold a repository of knowledge like no other on Toril, and so they defend it. And they're monks of a god called Aluando. And they are the voice of Aluando can be heard on the wind. And,
really?
And so there are people who walk through and they chant the chants of Aluando, and so there is this sort of mystical component to this keep, this order of monks that take care of this place. But so if you were to walk up to Candlekeep, you would get to the main gate, and one of the ways to enter, or the way to enter, is that you have to have a book that is not in the keep, which is a hard sort of task to acquire. And you can have, say you have a copy of a book, but it's a different edition. They'll accept that.
Okay.
So you can have a duplicate, but it's got to be different in some manner. And then once you present that book, they take it, and then you're allowed to gain access.
This, of course, being the main way that they collect books.
Yeah, collect new books.
Yeah.
So they're just all these people who are coming in. They're just constantly, just amassing more and more books.
Now, does that have to happen each time you enter, or once you do that once you have entrance into Candlekeep?
I think it's each time you enter.
Each time.
Yeah.
So that's why people live there. It's because I don't want to have to find another book.
Like you've got your reason for going there has to be like legit. Like you've got a serious reason why you want to be there.
Yeah.
And then once you enter into this sort of magical ward where there's no fire. There's because of books would all these ancient scrolls would just go up. So. And you're not allowed to use certain magic when you're there.
No fireballs allowed.
No fireballs allowed.
There's a sign up on the wall.
It's just like strictly no fireballs at all. So and then you sort of make your case, and then the monks who are there, they kind of direct you to other people, and then you're kind of shuttled to where you need to go, and then and then you're allowed to peruse the the grand halls and what they'll do is they'll eventually get you to a room where you just hang out in that room, and then you sort of give your book that you want to one of these. I think they're called speakers. One of the speakers, and then that person will then go get your book and bring it back.
Oh,
so you're not allowed to run roughshod through Candlekeep. However, on special cases, and if you appeal to the monk, the first reader, you're allowed. That the first reader might grant you access to more and more hidden and more sort of grand areas where the books are kept. So
the first reader is the leader?
Yeah.
The head monk?
Yeah, the head monk. And
I like that. Are there second readers and third readers?
Yeah, and then there's like the keeper of the green gate, or they're all these different sort of titles that are there, and I don't remember them all, but
I like there's a hierarchy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And sometimes the first reader doesn't get along with the other one, or there's like little jockeying for positions, or it could be that everybody's all hunky dory and it all works out. But yeah, the place runs really smoothly, and there are mysteries in Candlekeep. Like, not all of Candlekeep is completely explored. There may be secret rooms that nobody yet knows about. There are catacombs underneath of it, and some say that there is a spirit of a silver dragon that lives there called Mirim. And that's you might be able to encounter that spirit inside that place. So
that's fascinating.
And thinking about it, it's like, is it are there rooms that are magical, where books are floating about, or are there ghosts of ancient scholars that could tell you something? So
yeah, I bet if the kind of closed nature of it, as well as the people living there, that there would be lots of people who have died there, and their spirits would be bound to that area if they were so inclined.
Yeah. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It kind of brings in like Hogwarts and like all these other things were most likely inspired by Candlekeep.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Yeah. There's so for Descent into Avernus, we knew that you were going to be in Baldur's Gate. You were going to get sort of involved in this devilish sort of plot, and you were to realize at some point, like, this we're going to be heading down into the Nine Hells. Nobody knows about this place. What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? Oh my gosh! And so part of it directs you. The adventure directs you to going to Candlekeep to get information from a diabolist named Silvera Savicus, and she is a tiefling who has studied these infernal realms because she has kind of had her finger on the pulse of what's been going on in Avernus, and she's had her finger on the pulse of what's going on in the material plane, and she knows that there's doings going on. So
because this relates to this portion of what you're talking about, is the deity and the monks good aligned in Candlekeep?
Yeah.
So they're generally, altruistic. They want to help the world. They want to help people.
Yeah.
And does a diabolist in that setting, are they an anomaly? Are they, would you say that they're neutral or evil aligned, or is it? Or is she interested in it for the redemption type of thing?
Yeah, she's interested in studying it to understand your foe, to understand your enemy.
I see.
And all types of things are studied at Candlekeep. So demonologists are there, and we were talking about, well, there's a tower that is warded, and only experiments to create portals, and to summon demons, and to summon devils, and to summon foul things from the far realms. Like, things go on in Candlekeep that are dangerous, And so the wizards who are there have created warded towers that these experiments can take place in, but they can only exist within this tower.
I see.
They might even create demiplanes within Candlekeep, that you go to this wizard's tower, and you'll see a demonologist there, and they're like, well, to do this experiment or to encounter this entity, we have to go into this demiplane that's warded, and then do the experiment in there, and then come back and take our notes and write down what we experienced and all
Cool.
that. So it's kind of like CERN, or the Manhattan Project, like things where there are these tremendous forces that are being toyed with that people aren't so sure what's going to happen. Like there was the idea that they were going to drop the hydrogen bomb, and then all of a sudden it was going to ignite the atmosphere. Like that was a real thing. And they were like, well, do we do this?
Right.
And they're saying, well, my calculations say that it shouldn't do that. So go ahead.
But you don't know until you try it.
Don't know
right?
until you try it.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what a Candlekeep, the fun part of Candlekeep is about, is that there are these things that are going on in here. They're, like I said, studying the far realms, it's like, who knows what you're going to contact out there. And it's full of just really powerful elder gods and, patrons for warlocks. Like you don't want to be monkeying around there, but we must know these things. We must write these books about them. So they have these scholars and researchers and wizards that are doing this kind of stuff. And maybe, throughout Candlekeep's history, I'm sure there's been a moment where one tower's just gone, and it just rained, blocks down. They're like, oh my gosh,
all right, time to rebuild.
Yep. So-and-so must have forgot to, put their spell up. So, Candlekeep has this history of not only being, the store of ancient history of, who knows what could be the multiverse.
Yeah.
But they're also at the cutting edge of understanding what magic is, what these different planes of existence are. Mm-hmm. It's full of that. So in a way, it is like that university setting where there are, you have your, Harvard library, and then you have your professors that are sort of stationed, and you go into their office and you see all this weird equipment, and they're up to these crazy things, and they're like, come in, let me show you what I'm doing.
Right.
And you're like, oh, so yeah, to adventure in Candlekeep is the first initial step is to go into the sort of the keep itself, and to there's a big sort of grass field that you can kind of sit and discuss, with scholars and monks and with other visitors there, and you can talk about theories and ideas and what they're into, and so you can run into so many interesting, cool characters that are up to stuff. And as you get deeper and deeper into these layers, you start to learn more and more about the keep, and then you get to, if you're lucky enough, you can enter the libraries, and then they're just like giant rows of books, that are, stories high. And then if you get into the deeper layers, you can actually enter these towers
where the
experimentations are happening, and professors and wizards are studying things.
Right. And that's where the Diabolist you mentioned?
Yeah.
Sorry, you have to think about that one before you say it.
Yeah. It's like job list. But that's where Silvera is at. And so she's been there for, you have to do a decade of sort of service at Candlekeep before you're actually allowed to be admitted into being a resident there. So she's been there for a while, and she's done really good work, and she's kind of been, she's kind of got her renown. And so you meet somebody in Baldur's Gate who knows what her work is and understands that, she's sort of the person you need to contact. And so then that's where you go to sort of get your information and kind of get your feet under you, and to prepare yourself for this adventure that you're going to go on. You're going to go to a world and a realm in Avernus that is so alien and so different. And we needed sort of like a way to onboard players who maybe have never heard of the Nine Hells and they don't know anything like that. It's like there might be some players that really know that, and they, but metagaming aside, it's like, none of the characters potentially have ever been there. So the characters would not know much, only like things that they've heard from their, when they were wee lads and lasses. And then they start to get this information, like, here's what you're going to be facing, and here's what the devils are like, and here's what you've got to look out for, and here's things to help you out along the way.
So that's going to be a great tool for the dungeon master to get that information across that doesn't feel like I'm the dungeon master, and I'm telling you this stuff. It's like, because I hope that the players would play their characters in such a way as where they're like, we need to find out about this before we go in. And what better place to find it than in a location like Candlekeep?
Yeah. And so, so you have this opportunity to study and kind of get information. And, something as simple as like, silvered weapons, like, okay, devils, you cannot use your normal swords against them. It's like you've got to have silvered weapons.
At the very least, or magic items, right?
Yeah.
Or magic weapons.
Well, that's with like demons. So if you're like, well, we're going to go maybe potentially encounter the Blood War and there'll be demons down there. It's like, okay, well, now you're going to need magical weapons to deal with that. So it's like, okay. So these things then start to, and if, depending on what the DM wants to do and how the players sort of approach it, it could go into like, what does each individual devil, what are they like? What do you have to look out for when you're facing a chain devil? Or what do you have to look out for when you're facing a barb devil or a
pit fiend?
Pit fiend, like, God forbid. Like, if you
forbid.
That's right, God's forbid. So if that's the case, what do you have to deal with there? So it'd be a giant sort of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there built into the adventure the idea that the player characters might spend a lot of time in Avernus and therefore have more information that is not in Candlekeep about the current state of affairs there? Is there a debrief session where you go back to Candlekeep and be like, here's everything that we learned?
I think that would be totally fun.
Yeah.
In fact, I love that. That's a great idea. To have maybe there's even a character who's in the party who is sort of a scribe.
Oh, or a scholar of their own right.
Yeah. And so they're just like, this is awesome. Like I get to go with an adventuring party down into this realm, and now I'm going to get to take notes.
Yeah.
And I'll come back with, a scroll of such value. You present that to the monks at Candlekeep, and they'll be like, roll out the red carpet for you, buddy.
Come on in. You get to be a Diabolist now. Join the team if you want to.
Yeah. I mean, that's a cool idea. Yeah, that's really fun. Yeah.
I love it. Cool. Yeah. Anything else about Candlekeep that you think we should get out there? Any fun details, things about where exactly is it in the geography of the Sword Coast?
Yeah, so if you are sailing down the river Chianthar and you get to Baldur's Gate, and then you kind of go south and west and get to the coast, and Candlekeep's kind of right on a cliff, like a cliff promontory that kind of goes out into the ocean. And it's just off this road. I think it's called the Lion's Way. And you go down this road from Baldur's Gate, and you follow the coastline, and you just hop on this little road, and you go up to Candlekeep. So, southwest of Baldur's Gate. It's not too far. Yeah.
I think in the video game Baldur's Gate, it's 3 screens down and 4 screens west or whatever it is. Yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah. But in miles, it's less than 100 miles away from Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah. I'd say 60
miles
at the most.
Right. So it's near enough to the setting that it doesn't seem like you have to go on a teleportation circle or anything like that. You'll just travel down the road.
No, hop on a little wagon and truck on down.
And make sure you bring some books with you.
Make sure you bring some books. Yeah, and that's one of the things we put in the adventure is like, be sure that there are some cool books that people can find because they're going to need their price.
I also like the idea of writing your own book just to get into Candlekeep, right? Because what's the definition of a book? Is it something that a book of poems?
Yeah,
there might be the crappiest poems ever, but it's a book that they don't have.
And I mean, I think that's you can make a case for that.
Yeah,
you just show it with the monk and be like, hey, this is legit. And if it's not done. I think if it's done earnestly, then I think the monks will let you in.
I think it's another way to tie it back into Waterdeep Dragon Heist and have a Volo write some book for you to put in there.
Yeah, just hope you don't get the grumpy monk that day. He's just like, oh yeah, I've seen this one. Yeah,
this is a derivative of his other work.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a real book.
Yeah, it's like the grumpy college professor that when I was like writing my paper like at 3:00 that morning, and they're just like, dude, really?
No,
like this is not gonna cut it. That was a hard lesson I learned. I remember one professor, she was like, I had totally flaked on this one paper, and I tried to write it at the last minute, and I handed it in, and she just tore me to pieces. And it was great because at that point I was like, yeah, this is not the way I want to present myself.
The monks at Candlekeep would not look kindly on that. But I'll do you one better. It's a little bit off topic from our Lawyer You Should Know. But I wrote a paper for an English professor, and I totally flaked on the. We were supposed to write 3 papers. I wrote 2. And I flaked on the third one, and it was supposed to be like our final. And I was like, "Oops, didn't know that. I didn't write it." And so, the guy was my advisor, so he gave me like an incomplete. And he's like, "All right, as long as you get it to me by the end of next semester, it should be fine." I got to the end of the next semester, and I had those 2 papers, and I'm like, I'm just going to turn in one of those papers again and see if he remembers. And he didn't. So I skated by on turning in the same paper twice.
Oh my gosh!
And I don't think he would be a good monk at Candlekeep.
No, he would not. My teacher, on the other hand, would be a great monk. But oh my gosh, she taught me a great lesson. That was a thing that stung for a while, and and ever since that moment, I was like, okay, I've got to bring my A game every time. So,
and you've been doing it here on the D&D team.
I hope so. Yeah,
nice.
Try.
Thank you for telling me all about what's going on in Candlekeep. What is your? I mean, I feel like I've asked you 4 times. What's your Twiddle handle so that people can ask you about Candlekeep if they wanted to delve your knowledge more?
It's at Atom of Adventure.
Excellent. Well,
Yes.
I hope more people ask how they can get into your personal Candlekeep.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've got all this, like all these pages of Candlekeep, and so depending on how deep the dive, like it's not all in my accessible memory right now, but I can always hit the books and find out all kinds of crazy details. Yeah,
awesome.
It's weird. Like, and some of our resource materials. Ed Greenwood has letters from Ed Greenwood just saying, "Hey, this is what Candlekeep's all about," and they're fun to read.
They are fun. Yeah, he has got similar to you. He's got a wealth of knowledge that is in his head, but then also on thousands of pages that he's created.
Oh my gosh!
I know. Excellent stuff. Well, he would definitely be a monk.
Since
he is a librarian.
He is.
In his actual real life.
Librarian.
Yeah. So I feel like it holds a special part in his setting for that reason.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance ever to sit down with Ed and chat, but that would be probably the first question I'd ask him. Is just like, creating Candlekeep, was that just like basically the first thing you made? You know, like. And I know like Forgotten Realms was sort of like he created that as a kid.
Yeah.
But, like later on, when he became an actual librarian, like which came first?
Right.
Candlekeep or you being a librarian? So, yeah.
Maybe both. Maybe they have it simultaneously. Well, thank you. And we'll be back with some more lore you should know next week. Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Good stuff. We are going to do another one of these. This one is things you can meet in Avernus, essentially.
Sure. Yeah.
And we'll talk about the Infernal War Machines as part of that, but then also the leaders of the gangs who are doing it.
The Wandering Emporium.
And the Wandering Emporium as well.
Sure. And I see all the gang leaders.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.